In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the rear wheel bearings on this Audi S4. These are going to be located behind the rear wheels. Let's get into it. In the trunk, you need to lift up on this cover right here. There's a little handle that will hold that out of the way. On the left side of the spare tire, you're going to grab this toolbox. If you lift the handle, then you can pull it up. Open this up. It's just a couple levers. And then you're looking for this key. Grab this key. Remove the center cap. Take that key. There's a hole right there. Just go in the hole, pull that off. Using a 17mm socket, take the lug bolts off. Before I take the last one off, I'm just going to hold the wheel, prevent it from falling. Then grab the wheel and pull it off. Now I'm just going to take a pull jack and just support underneath the control arm. Take a little bit of tension off the shock. We're going to take that lower shock bolt out. On the nut side, I'm going to use a 21mm wrench. Hold that nut and the bolt, 21mm socket. And take that off. Take the nut off, and there's a washer that goes with it. Grab the bolt, pull it out. You can lower this down, lower the pull jack down, separate the shock from the knuckle, and take a pry bar, just pry out the shock. I'm just going to push it up a little bit. Just try to push it out of the way. And I actually like to take the bolt and then just keep the bolt in it. That way it doesn't sink down. Now using a Hex socket, an 8mm, we're going to take this bolt out. This is for the caliper bracket. There's one up top and there's one down below. You can move the shock out of the way so you can get the bolt out a little better if you need to. There you go. Pull that bolt out. Take the lower one off. It's a little bit tighter down below. Pull the bolt out. Now grab the caliper, pull it out. I'm going to use a brake caliper hanger and just hang the caliper out of the way. Just going to hang it from the sway bar on the back. Just make sure there's no tension on the brake hose, or not a lot of tension. Now using a T30 socket, take the screw out. I'm going to take that out and then just grab the rotor, pull that off. I'm going to remove this bolt. You're going to need a Hex socket. This is a H17. Take this out. Pull that out. We're going to remove the backing shield. You could work around it if you want to, but it's just going to make it easier to see a lot more with the shield off. So use a T30 socket. Take these bolts out. Slide that off. Now I'm going to use a pull jack underneath this lower control arm. You want to support that safely. Using a 18mm wrench, 18mm socket, we're going to take this bolt out. Pull that out. And this bolt back here, 18mm socket, 18mm wrench. Pull that out. Now just using a pry bar, just going to pry this up. And you can pry this bar out to the side. Now I'm going to use a T30 socket, and right here we're going to loosen up the bolt for the retainer. And this is for the wheel speed sensor wire to give us a little bit of slack. If you wanted to, you could pull your wheel speed sensor out of the knuckle. Ours is a little bit rusted in there, so we're just gonna get a little more slack with the wiring harness. Pull that out. Now using a 10mm socket, I'm gonna take this bolt out. This is just the bracket for the wheel speed sensor. Take that out. And then you have a little more slack with the wire. Now just pull this out a little bit and pull the axle. I'm just gonna pull that to the side. And I'm gonna put that above just so we can access all the bolts. I'm using a M12 triple square socket. I'm gonna take these bolts out. You know, if you drop this down a little bit and put it up against the arm, then it'll stabilize it a little. I'll pull that bolt out. Do the same with the other ones. Pull that out. Pull that out. And take the last one out. Take that out. Now, you can try to just pull the hub off. This one's frozen on there pretty good. Before we go to take this off, I'm just gonna slide the knuckle down. Just get it lined up with the bolt hole. And just to give it a little more strength while we're trying to pull that off, I'm going to put the bolt through right here. There we go. Now, if you need to, use a slide hammer. Ours is not that stuck. It was able to just pull off, which is cool. So pull that off. So take the hub assembly. We have to separate the hub from the bearing. And what we're going to do is support this flange in the back. We happen to be using a rotor, but use whatever you can to make it work. And we'll find a socket that fits just in the center. This is a 30mm socket. Now we're just going to press it out. If you don't have a press, you want to use a different method to try to just push this out. You can even hammer it out if you have to. That would work. Just the important thing is to support these ears of the flange on the bearing side. And just push the center out. It doesn't even take that much pressure. You just press that out. It's not that bad. Pull that off. And the race didn't even come off with it, which is good. Now, if the race was stuck on there, there's a couple methods you can use to get it off. If you have a puller, or if you want to use a cutoff wheel, you can slice down the side of it and crack it. Or the easiest method I have found is spinning it. You can spin it with a drill, and while it's spinning, use a torch, heat it up, and then it falls right off. I'll put this on here. Now with the bearing, there's the lip right there. That's going to go down towards the hub. Slide this in place. And then I'm just going to use a socket that's bigger than the center. And that's just going to push on the center bearing, but you don't want it so big that it pushes on the outer bearing. Just get that lined up. All right, that's all the way down. I'll loosen that up. Now you can install it on the vehicle. And before we put the new hub on, just going to wipe this with a rag. And then if there's any corrosion, you want to just clean it up with a wire brush. good. Wipe that off with a rag again. Now I'm just going to take a thin coat of anti-seize just to prevent corrosion in the future. Just on the surface where the hub is going to meet on the knuckle. That's good. I'll take the new bearing and hub, get this lined up, put the bolts in. Snug these up. Now on these bolts, you want to torque them to 59 foot-pounds and then an additional 90 degrees. A little tight back here, do the best you can. I'm going to torque them all first to 59 and then go back and tighten them the additional 90 degrees. All right, those are all torqued. Now an additional 90 degrees. If you don't have a torque angle meter, do the best you can. And this last one. All right, that's good. Now we can pull these bolts out. If you put one in the other side, take that out as well. And get the axle back in. Raise this up. Okay, put the axle lined up. There we go. Now put the bolt in. Snug that down a little, not all the way down. Now we can pry this down. Get it back in place, get the bushings lined up. Just push that in place. There we go. Get that started through there. I'll take this arm, get that lined up. Just give it a tap with a rubber mallet. It's lined up. Now this bolt's going to go through here. Get that started. Put the nuts on. I'm just going to raise this up a little bit. I want to get this close to ride height, as close as possible, and then we can tighten down these nuts and bolts. Tighten these down. Now I'm going to torque these bolts to 82 foot-pounds. Good. Now just lower the pole jack. Just take that out of the way. It's recommended that you replace the axle bolt. Now we're going to tighten it down. Snug that down. Take two of the lug studs or lug bolts. Get those started. We'll take a pry bar right up against the ground. It's going to prevent the hub from spinning while we tighten it down. Now you want to torque this bolt to 147 foot-pounds and then an additional 180 degrees. Once you get that, then 180 degrees. If you don't have a torque angle meter, do the best you can. Good. Take the lug bolts out. Now take these screws, put these back in the bracket. And I'll tighten this down. Just snug that down. And screw in the back. Get that started and tighten that down. And snug it down. I'm going to take the shield, get it lined up. Get the screws started and tighten these down. Just going to use a little thin squirt of anti-seize. Just a thin coating. Take the rotor, line up the hole with the small threaded hole right there, and take the screw. Snug that down. Now I'm going to take the caliper, take the hanger off, slide it over the rotor, and get the bolts. Get those started. All right, that's started. And down below. All right, snug those down. Now tighten that down. And we have a torque wrench with a long extension going over the control arm. And we'll torque this to 55 foot-pounds. That's good. I'll pull that out. All right, I'm just going to use a pry bar, pry that shock out of the way a little bit. And we can tighten this down. Snug that down. And now we're going to torque this down to 55 foot-pounds. All right, that's good. Now I'm just going to use the pole jack, raise the suspension a little bit, get this shock in place. You can pull it down if it'll come down a little bit. When you get that lined up, you want to get that bolt through. There we go. Put that square looking washer on. And the nut. Tighten that down. Now we're going to torque this bolt to 110 foot-pounds. And lower the pole jack. Now install the wheel. Line that up with the holes. Get the lug bolt started. Snug those down. Now we're going to torque the lug bolts to 90 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Go around again, double check. And the center cap, you flip it over. There's a picture of a valve stem. You want to line that up with the valve stem. Lock it down in place. After you're done this job, it's a good idea to bring the vehicle to a local shop to have the alignment performed so that you don't have premature tire wear.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.